Enoch, son of Adam, scribe of righteousness, hear us, we the watchers who dwelt in the holy place and beheld the face of the Ancient of Days. We cried out to the Holy One, and we were not heard. We lifted our voices, and we were turned away. The Most High no longer answers us, but you who were born of woman, a man whose days are numbered, you have found favor in his sight. He holds you in high regard. So go up in our place, plead for us before the Great One. You are our last hope. We have no other mediator. Now just stop and picture that scene for a second. A watcher, one of those beings who descended, who taught mankind how to make war, who took the daughters of men for themselves, who fathered giants, a being that made empires tremble, now on his knees, begging a mortal man to pray for him. And just to be clear here, the book of Enoch is not part of the biblical canon, but what it contains tells us a lot about what many ancient Jews believed about the beginning of time. In the book of Enoch, chapter 13, it says this is exactly what happened. They called for Enoch, the scribe of righteousness, and they said, intercede for us. And Enoch did. He was taken up in a vision right before the throne, and he prayed for angels. And the answer that came back wasn't forgiveness. It was a verdict. God said to Enoch, go and say to the watchers of heaven who have left the high heaven, the holy place that has no end. You have abandoned heaven to do what is done on earth. Therefore, you will never ascend to heaven again. Forgiveness was never written for you. The request was denied forever. But God didn't send Enoch back empty-handed. He gave him another job. He said, since you cannot be their advocate, you will be the witness to their condemnation. I will show you what no man has ever seen. I will show you the day they are judged. And the first thing God showed Enoch wasn't fire. It wasn't the abyss. It was an empty courtroom with thrones already set in place, waiting. If you're getting something out of this, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. We have a lot more videos like this and new content coming out all the time. Go and see the end of those for whom you prayed, he tells him. So Enoch enters, and what he sees isn't a cloud. It isn't a temple. It's something much stranger. Thrones, books, scales, everything prepared and completely empty. Like the entire universe was holding its breath, waiting for someone to arrive. He sees books, not one book. Stacks upon stacks of books being opened by angelic scribes. Enoch 47 says that every prayer of the righteous who were slain was written down there. Nothing was forgotten. He sees a scale, suspended in the middle of the room. Enoch 61 doesn't exactly explain how that scale worked, but it's as if before God, even the things men thought were invisible could finally be weighed. Faithfulness, justice, the choices we make. Courtroom was ready, but the judge wasn't seated. Then Enoch looks to the center, next to the Ancient of Days, the one whose head was white as wool, whose robe no man can look upon. He sees someone, standing, like a man, but with a face that shone like he had seen God before anything ever existed. Enoch had never seen this being before. He asks the angel guiding him, who is this? Where did he come from? And the answer changes the entire story of the final judgment. Enoch 48 answers, this is the Son of Man, the one to whom righteousness belongs, the light of the nations, in whom righteousness dwells. This one was chosen and hidden before the Lord of Spirits before the world was created, before the stars were made. His name was invoked before the Lord, before the sun and the constellations were created. He was hidden. God hid the judge before he even created the defendants. And it was for him that the empty thrones were waiting. It was for him that the scale was hanging. It was for him that the books were being opened. In that instant, Enoch understands. The final judgment wouldn't be carried out by some vengeful angel. It would be carried out by someone who looks like a man. Someone men could have loved, but chose to reject. And Enoch asks, what will he do? And the angel doesn't answer with words. He shows him. He shows him who will be dragged into that room first. Then the doors opened, the ground shook, and Enoch saw who would be judged first. It wasn't men, it was them. Enoch chapters 7 and 8 say they didn't just fall, they dragged humanity down with them. Azazel taught men how to forge swords and knives and shields, and we know that from that day forward, man learned how to tear the flesh of his brother, and the blood has never stopped flowing on the earth. He also taught antimony, the painting of the eyes, the use of bracelets and precious stones, and dyes. And from that day, woman was turned into a product. Seduction became currency. Bodies were sold. Wives were coveted. Women were taken by force, and adultery entered homes like it was normal. It was Samyaza who taught enchantments and the cutting of roots. And with that, man learned how to make poison, how to curse his neighbor, and how to call upon evil as if it were God. Armoros taught the breaking of spells, sorcery to undo sorcery. And man learned to live in fear of curses, a slave to witchcraft. Barakijal taught astrology. Kokabel taught the constellations. Sariel taught the course of the moon. And man, who once looked to the Creator, started looking to the stars to predict the future, and became a slave to idolatry. And the worst of it all, Samyaza saw the daughters of men, beautiful. And he said to his companions, "Come, let us take wives for ourselves from among the children of men and beget children." It wasn't love. The word take tells you it wasn't consensual. Enoch 7 says they took them for themselves, each one choosing his own. Picture these women being torn from their fathers' houses, young girls screaming as they're carried off by beings who called themselves guardians, fathers watching their daughters taken like spoils of war, and from them the giants were born. And the giants devoured all the labor of men, and when there was no more food, they devoured men themselves. And the earth cried out. The cry of the dead rose up to heaven, and God commanded that the giants destroy one another, and their spirits, which were neither of heaven nor of earth, remained here, wandering as evil spirits. This was no accident. It was a project of corruption. And the sentence was given right there, in front of Enoch. Enoch 90 verse 26 says they were cast into a deep abyss, full of fire, burning with pillars of fire. It wasn't the end. It was a prison until the final day. A desert of fire with 7 mountains of metal, where they would remain chained until the last day. Enoch watched those who had begged him to intercede fall, and he understood that forgiveness had been denied. But the courtroom didn't stay empty. Right behind them, dragged by the same angels, came others. They weren't angels, they were men. Enoch 62 says, "The kings, the mighty, those who possessed the earth, those who lay on soft beds while the righteous wept, the owners of everything, the ones who laughed, the ones who said God doesn't see. They walked in with their heads held high, until they saw who was seated next to the Ancient of Days. When they saw the Son of Man, Enoch says their faces changed color. Fear gripped them deep in their gut. Their knees gave out. They began to beg, not for forgiveness, for death." Enoch 63 records their prayer. "Blessed is the Lord of spirits. We have sinned. Our riches did not save us. Now we would like to have a place to believe. But there is no place. Let the mountains fall on us. Let the earth swallow us." And the answer from the courtroom was silence. Because Enoch 38 says that on that day, no plea will be heard. They who were worshipped on earth, now begging the earth to hide them. And the earth would not hide them. Enoch had witnessed the judgment of the oppressors. When the cry of the kings had ceased and both men and angels had been condemned, silence returned to the courtroom. And then, for the first time, Enoch saw the scales tip the other way. Enoch 47 says the prayers of the righteous that had been kept in the books began to rise up. Every tear the earth had soaked up, every righteous person killed where no one saw, every mother who wept for a child torn away by the giants, it all rose like incense before the Ancient of Days. And the Son of Man stood up. He didn't look at the thrones of the condemned. He looked at the empty thrones. And he called for their owners, and Enoch saw them come in, those who had never set foot in a palace, the humiliated, the persecuted, the ones called crazy because they wouldn't bow to kings, the ones who would rather die than learn the sorcery of Samyaza. They came in with their heads down, with clothes dirty from the earth, bearing the marks of what they had suffered. And Enoch 62 verse 15 says what happened. The Lord of spirits lifted them up, and clothed each one with garments of glory, garments that shone like the sun, and their faces shone like light. And Enoch 62 verse 14 says the most beautiful line in the entire book, and the righteous and the elect shall dwell with him. They shall eat with him. They shall lie down with him, and they shall rise with him forever. Those same thrones that had been empty since before the world was born, they were theirs. They had always been theirs. Enoch 45 says that on that day, heaven will transform the earth, that God will bring a new house greater than the first, that sin will be ripped out by the root and thrown away, that pain will be forgotten as if it never existed. Enoch, the man who started this story begging for condemned angels, ends up seeing why forgiveness was denied to them. Because if God let the oppressors go unpunished, he would be betraying the cries of the oppressed that he kept in books. And he understood. The final judgment isn't God being cruel. It's God being faithful to every tear he wrote down. And the angel guiding Enoch looked at him and said, "Write all of this down, so that those who come after will know that no innocent blood falls to the ground without heaven taking note, and that no empty throne will stay empty forever." Thanks for sticking with me all the way to the end. If you like this, make sure you subscribe. We have a lot more like this, and there's something new every single week. And go ahead and click on one of the 2 videos on your screen to keep going deeper.